You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Donté Grant, managing attorney at Brunson Grant Law Firm, LLC in Atlanta, Georgia. Donté focuses on, Donté is a trial attorney and an NBA agent. How are you?
Good, man. Happy to be here, Benny. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, man. Let's just tell everybody this is a full circle moment. It's pretty amazing having Donté on the show because we featured Donté May 15th, 2019, right around the time of his law school graduation from what is now, I believe, the Ben Crump School of Law. We love Ben Crump. He was on our show in Miami, Florida, St. Thomas. So welcome in, man. This is great. We're going to discuss everything you manifested in that story.
Yeah, it's crazy to even think about how, everything that's transpired in such a short amount of time since that feature, man. And it's like, I don't know, I guess it goes to, like you said, manifesting something and like having a dream and like sticking to it more so than anything.
Totally. And you've done a lot. And also, I would just want to thank you on behalf of Lawyer Stories, like this little, project I started as a passion project back in, as an Instagram page actually in like July 2017. And like for your support, we've met up at a couple of events, which has been awesome. And so thanks, man, for like coming along for this ride with us too.
Man, anytime, Benny, man, I appreciate it. Like you were one of the first, I guess you can say, websites, that covered me. And more so than anything, like meeting through my good friend Pete. Like Pete was rocking the Lawyer Stories hat before you even had an Instagram for Lawyer Stories. Like that's the crazy thing.
Yeah, man, we got to shout out to Pete.
It was like, there's like what's Lawyer Stories? And I think that was like all of 2016. Yeah.
I gotta send some more of those hats out, I guess.
Yeah, man, you do, especially in Miami.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially the guys like Pete.
What's that?
Especially the guys like Pete.
Yeah, that's awesome. So amazing story. I just want to start off like where you were born and raised. You're in Atlanta now. So like, are you originally from there? Where are you from?
Originally from South Georgia, a little town called Statesboro. I don't know if you heard. It's the college town. Georgia Southern's there. Family's from there, but Atlanta's home. Been in Atlanta now since about 2000. So yeah, Atlanta's home at this point. My practice is based out of Atlanta. So yeah, this is the home base.
That's awesome. And you grew up playing like a lot of sports, right? I went back, I recapped your story. You played like I consider them like the big three, like baseball, football, basketball, right? Like that was your thing. And
football, baseball. I ran track some as well.
Yep.
I was an all-around athlete, man. I played everything. My mom, I guess that was a good way to stay out of trouble and stay focused because if you couldn't do well in school, you wasn't gonna play sports. And she knew sports was it for me.
Yeah.
Hence why I'm a NBA agent now, because I was like, well, okay, if I'm not gonna make it to the league, I'll just represent players in the league.
Like when you realized, okay, well, because I know you did play college, which is pretty cool. I mean,
yeah.
But like when you kind of knew like maybe you weren't gonna go pro, like do you remember? Do you have like a moment around that? Was it sort of like a depressing time? Like
not necessarily depressing, but I honestly, I'd say when I got to college, I realized one, everyone's good.
Yeah.
And two, that there's a whole other level of talent that, God just didn't bless me with. And even my teammates, because we were a small school. So, once you get around other guys that are talented, because, in high school, not everyone's good. You can shine in high school just because you're just a little bit more talented, or maybe you work a little harder. College, not so much. Everyone was talented. Everyone was good. Everyone worked hard. Everyone had that drive. So yeah, college was kind of the wake-up call. It was like, all right, maybe I'm not gonna make it to the league. But you couldn't tell me that prior to starting college, because I just knew. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a chance. I don't care if I'm at D2 or not.
Yeah.
To play pro. But yeah, I'd say college is when I kind of started to realize, hey, figure something else out. And, you know, on top of playing sports, I always wanted to be an attorney, but it was just always being the attorney was like my plan B. Like, hey, if I don't make it to the league, I'll be a lawyer.
It's kind of funny because when you describe like going to play ball in college, like everybody's good when you get there, everybody's talented. It almost feels like somebody describing law school, you know, like everybody's competitive when they
You
get
know
there.
what? Honestly, the correlation is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Just like that, because, you know, like obviously everyone in law school is smart, but on the outside looking in, you look at it like, oh, I did well in undergrad. I'm gonna kill law school.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be nothing.
Yeah.
And when you get to law school, and it's like, oh, everyone's smart, and then there's tiers of how smart. And you know, I didn't obviously we knew about it in undergrad, you know, the people that made cum laude and all of that. But honestly, in undergrad, I felt like had I applied myself just a little more, I could have been cum laude. Like I still finished just under it, like maybe a hair under graduating with honors. And I was in college playing basketball and really lollygagging a lot.
Yes.
So I just felt like, hey, if I lock in a little bit more easily, because I got my MBA before I started.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. That's
Oh,
incredible. Like if you like knew you wanted to go to law school, like what drove you to go get an MBA?
procrastination.
Okay.
Procrastination, because I was like, yo, I don't have 3 years. I'm not doing another 3. I was like, I'll do one because, you know, NBA, that's just a year and a half. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And honestly, I did, that was a waste of my life looking back. Well, not really, because everything kind
No,
of led to
no.
this point. Everything led to this point that I'm at.
Right, right.
But at the time, it's like, as far as like using my MBA, I'm not necessarily using it per
But
se.
you're an owner of a firm. So
For
like
a law firm.
does that help a little bit? I mean, I actually think maybe
Pretty.
it would give you some more like not really credibility, but give you some more like a heads up on certain
Yeah,
things.
I'll say this. It definitely gave me like it jump started the entrepreneurship side of thinking, because like there was no doubt for me once I started law school that I was going to have my own practice. Like I never went into it thinking, yeah, I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna work for someone. And I guess I can definitely credit that to getting my MBA, because business school, you kind of like you're kind of forced to think like the mind of an entrepreneur, or maybe not so the mind of an entrepreneur, but the mind of someone in upper management. And then for me, it was always like, well, if I'm gonna be in upper management, I'm gonna just do my own thing. Yeah, like I was the little kid that had a lemonade stand when I was 10.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've always been that person. Like I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started a management company in music when I was 22 with no money.
That's awesome.
Did marketing and promoting, and so I branched off into that. Started a publishing company. So I've always had that entrepreneur's like spirit, entrepreneurial
Yeah,
spirit.
you've got it. You've got
And
that thing. Yeah.
yeah, getting my MBA just kind of it solidified it in me that okay, it's not just because it's what I like to do. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. So and after like before you went to law school, didn't you like join the service or something too?
Yeah,
Like
man, my story is wild, man. Being
no, I
after
mean I think that's incredible because but
I had
were
5 lives.
you were like so strategic about it because of like the GI Bill. Like you figured like maybe you
Everything.
can I mean law school's like ridiculous expensive if you're not
It
getting
is.
like a
It is.
scholarship or something, you know?
Yeah, and honestly, man, I can credit my god brother James for that, because he joined the military. He actually played ball with me in college too. And
Okay.
right after college, right after graduation, he commissioned and went to the Army. So he's been in the Army now. It's almost 20 years. I think he's in year 17 now, because he graduated a few years after me. So he was like, yeah, this is almost year 17 for him in the military. And so when I started like putting my plan together, as far as like, okay, what are you gonna do when you go to law school? You've been talking about this your whole life, procrastinating, what's going on? I started doing a little research to kind of find out how much it cost. And that was
Oh,
eye-opening. Like I didn't know. And I also didn't know that it wasn't a whole lot of scholarships available for law
mhm.
school. Like it's a few, depending on how well you do on the LSAT. But I was just kind of banking on, okay, let's just say best case scenario, I'm middle of the pack, LSAT score 150, 155. Probably not going to get a whole lot of scholarship money. So how am
Mhm.
I going to pay for the other 300,000 if it's a private school?
It's unbelievable. I know.
Loans was out of the question, because I went to undergrad on basketball scholarship, so I had kind of dodged the whole student loan
Yep.
issue. So I didn't want to start it in my 30s in law school with like coming out of law school with $400,000 in debt.
It's crazy, I know.
Crazy. So my godbrother was like, yo, why don't you join the Army and let the GI Bill pay for it? I was like, man, you crazy. I ain't joining the Army. What? I was like, I'm not joining the Army. I was like, no. Lo and behold, I had my son.
Yep.
And that flipped the switch. It made me look at things a little different, because it's one thing to, like, you know, be able to support yourself and do everything you need to do for yourself. It's a whole other thing when you're responsible for another human being.
Sure. Yep.
So once I had my son, that was kind of like, I remember calling my godbrother. I was like, yo, what did you say about that Army thing again? How could I get the GI Bill for the Army to go to law school? And he explained it to me. He set me up with a recruiter, or talked to the recruiter like maybe 3 times over like a 6-month span, and just kept saying, yeah, I don't know. And then finally I just said, you know what, I'm gonna just keep putting this off. I think it was almost about to be New Year's in like 2010 or 2011, something like that. And I just said, you know what, I'm gonna do it this year. And top of that year, early 2012, when it signed the paperwork, I shipped out October of 2012. Did my 4 years, literally got out of the Army.
4 years, really? Where were you for 4 years?
I was stationed in Central Texas at Fort Hood.
Wow. So you
right,
did like
right
all the
outside of
basic,
Austin.
you did like the basic training and all that? Is that
At the time, 2012, since this was Obama's, the start of his second term, President Obama, you couldn't get the GI Bill if you came in as an officer at that point, because we weren't in war times. How the GI Bill works, really all Army benefits. Essentially, the worst state that that affairs are around the world, the better it is to join the Army as far as what benefits you will get. So being we weren't in war times, they weren't offering the full GI Bill for officers. They'd offer the full GI Bill if you enlisted. And I was like, I already got a college degree. I'm not enlisting. If I go in the military, I need to be an officer. That defeats the point. But the whole purpose of it was the GI Bill for me. So that's why I kept putting it off for that 6 months, because I'm like, yo, I'm not enlisting and going to basic training and getting yelled at by some drill sergeant, and I'm almost 30 and I got a college degree. But then I really sat down and thought about it and put 2 and 2 together and added up, you know, how much it was going to cost if I was just going to pay out of pocket or go to get student loans. And I said, all right, I'm going to enlist, man. So I enlisted, shipped out that October of 2012, man, and went to basic training 8 weeks in Sumter, just outside of Columbia, South Carolina.
Wow.
Yep, wrapped that up, finished up like maybe April of 2013. That would have been 2013. Yep, April 2013. And they sent me to Fort Hood. That was my first duty station right after AIT. And yeah, I was at Fort Hood for a good week, and my unit got orders to go to Afghanistan.
Really?
Crazy.
So you were there? That's crazy.
I deployed to Afghanistan a month and a half later. So I go from not wanting to join the Army, not wanting to enlist, to enlisting, going through basic training, AIT, getting to my unit, and less than 90 days after being in my unit, I'm sitting in the desert in Afghanistan.
Like, what were you doing there?
My job was finance. My job was finance, so I pretty much did finance in the military too. So in Afghanistan, I still did finance, but finance in the military is a little different because it's pretty much Army pay, Army budgeting, all wrapped up in one as finance.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was a finance soldier, and we went out, like, you know, the area in Afghanistan that just got toppled here last year, Kandahar Airport, Kandahar Air Base.
Yeah.
That's where I was at. So I was there in 2013. Essentially, that was the stronghold for the UN's, all the UN soldiers and units and UN affiliates in the Middle East. So when I was there, it was like almost 100,000 soldiers at that place. When it just toppled here last year, I think they had less than 10,000. So that's how the Taliban was able to overturn it. And we had pulled out. But yeah, man, sitting in a desert in Afghanistan, getting rocket attacks. Like, what the hell am I doing here? I just want to be a lawyer.
Wow.
Wild.
Yeah.
Studying for the LSAT in Afghanistan. Ain't that something?
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, man. Thank God it worked out. Got out. I came back from that deployment. We ended up leaving Afghanistan and going to Kuwait and Qatar, as I call it, but it's actually Qatar.
Okay.
I was in Qatar for like another 4.5 months, but that was safe. That wasn't any like dangerous times like say Afghanistan. But yeah, it blew my mind getting to Qatar because they literally have gold palaces like right down the
Oh,
street.
that's amazing. And there wasn't any age issue or anything?
Yeah, at the time, so you had to. The Army was the only military branch that would accept me in my 30s. The Air
Okay,
Force 27 was the cutoff.
that's it.
Um, I
So,
think maybe the cutoff was like 28 or 29, and the Army they would take you up to 32. And I was 30 at the time when I
okay.
joined. I turned 31 like before I shipped out to my unit.
Did you
Um,
ever think about being like a JAG? Is that the army?
JAG, look, when I was in the military, I thought about it. I was like, oh, when I get out, I'm already going to law school. Why not go JAG? You know, they might pay for give me some more benefits or something. But once I figured out I had to give them another 6 years if I did JAG, that was
Oh,
out.
okay.
Yeah,
So
that
do
was.
you still have a connection to them? Like, do you still have to go like once a month somewhere, or
No,
like?
I got out clean. Yeah,
Okay,
I got clean. As soon
okay,
as my contract ended, I didn't have any. So going in, so that's all about how you do your paperwork in the beginning. And since I had someone that was in the military, like those were my conditions to join.
okay.
I
Gotcha.
needed a full GI Bill. I was gonna give y'all 0 time of reserves, and
Okay,
my first contract could only be 4 years. Those was my three conditions.
gotcha.
Sometimes they'll rock with you on those, sometimes they won't. In my situation, I already had a college degree, so I was a big leg up for that recruiter because here he is recruiting someone with a college degree to come in enlisted that's not gonna be an officer. So
Oh
they
yeah.
all
Okay.
of my conditions at that point, just because the Army isn't known to get you know people with a college degree to enlist.
Right.
Maybe the Navy can get you to enlist just because it's safer. Marines maybe not so much either, but definitely the Navy and the Air Force because they live on the good life. They're only going to be stationed in places with great weather,
Yep.
water,
Right.
not so much in the Army. Like they sending you to butt fuck Texas. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wow,
Literally.
man. Wow. What a excuse me. That's amazing. That's amazing. So, all right, let's get back to that's what an incredible part of your story. So you go to law school, you finally get there. I would think like how did being in the service and being an MBA like master of business, like how would you say that and being a college athlete, college
Yeah.
basketball, how did that help in law school, being a law student?
Um, I think all of that kind of added to my resilience and dedication, honestly, because if I could sit through as a soldier in the Army in a desert in Afghanistan for 9 months studying for the LSAT, obviously I can sit in a law library in Miami and push through. So I think all of those things just kind of shaped and built who I am as a person, and kind of shaped and built my character, and kind of just gave me a mettle and a toughness and a dedication to like being and not break.
Yeah,
And sports, I say all the time, and I feel like sports has such a huge impact on my life because it taught me definitely that there's levels of talent. It taught me what hard work is, and it taught me also you can be as talented as anybody, but if you don't outwork the next person, they'll probably beat you.
wow.
I think
Yeah.
lessons like that definitely translated to me. Like I could see the correlation once I got to law school because I've always naturally been competitive, and obviously law school is a very competitive environment. But for me, the competition in law school wasn't necessarily to be the gunner or sit in the front and book the classes. It was more so the like I was more so the competitive person. Like, hey, I'm not gonna let this break me.
Right.
Like, I got a plan. I came for this. I'm gonna finish the drill, so to
Right.
say. And I could care less what happens if I get put on probation, make the dean's list, whatever the case may be, whatever the obstacles they're going to throw at me. I feel like I was trained over time going through so many trials and tribulations in life to be able to push through law school. So I think all of that stuff definitely helped me. It helped like shape and mold me into really the attorney that I am today too, because I fight for my clients just the same.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like you are so well rounded, man. Like with all of these things, all of your experiences. Like I feel like you should run for president. Seriously,
Oh man.
you got like the army background. They like to
All
see
right,
the
Governor.
military. You played sports, man. Like you,
Yeah.
unbelievable. All right,
Hey,
so we get through law school.
yep.
You just kind of explained that we're up to You just like launched your own firm, right? You went right
Yeah,
for it. Is that, I mean, so
yeah,
tell us about that.
full throttle, man. Yeah, like I said, I feel like I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've always like wanted to not necessarily be my own boss, but like build my own company. That was always the goal of mine. So once I made the decision to go to law school and to be an attorney, literally from that day forward, it was always with the goal of having my own practice. I grew up watching Matlock and Perry Mason with my grandma when I was a
Yeah,
kid when she'd babysit me. And yeah, I was like, hey, I want to be like Matlock. Matlock with a smooth suits. Matlock had his own business. He worked for himself. Obviously, Matlock might be a shade or so lighter than me, but like that was the goal. I was like, man, I want to be like Matlock, man. And Matlock
right.
had his own firm. So of course, once I started doing my research and just kind of figuring out what area of law I was going to practice in and how feasible was it to possibly have your own practice and what's the perfect time. And mentors, friends, colleagues that I'd meet along the way, and everybody had a different answer. Everyone had a different experience. So that let me know that it was possible, and it also let me know that it's more than one way to skin a cat. I
Yep.
mean, and it's never going to be the perfect time. So you
It's
may
not right. So with that said, what advice would you give somebody who is thinking about launching their own law firm?
first and foremost, I'll tell them if they're going to launch their own law firm, make sure it's a practice of law that make money.
Right.
First and foremost, because like any business, the first 6 months to a year will make or break that business. Law firms no different. If you don't have the personality to get out here and hustle and get clients and get cases, entrepreneurship, especially as an attorney, might not be for you because literally everything, like all my finances hinged on whether or not I could get business. Obviously, the area of law will kind of determine that. So the very first advice, the I guess the most important advice I give to someone who wants to start their own practice is make sure you understand how to practice in that practice area and make sure you understand finances and budgets. Because the last thing you want to do is jump out and start your own practice and be your own boss and do all this marketing, have all this material out there, and then have to close down shop and go get a job.
Yeah.
Like that's the last thing you want to happen. So be realistic about who you are as a person, and whether or not you have those certain attributes that an entrepreneur has to have. You have to, have a short memory span. You might not have a good day today, but you got to push it to the side and get back to it tomorrow. Like, are you that type of person? Are you good with stress? Are you good with having everything on your shoulders? And if you're one of those people, like you've been like the leader or like if you look back at your friendships and you're that type of person that everyone kind of gravitate to, you're the life of the party to a degree, like you may have some of those attributes, but if you don't like talking to people, you don't like selling yourself to a person or to a company, this might not be for you as handling your own or running your own firm, because literally I don't have anyone to blame. Like it kind of the buck stops with
Yeah.
me.
It's all on you. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's not with me. So that's why it's so important to make sure you're practicing an area of law that makes money too. Because look, let's be honest, we all have bills.
Yeah.
Lights got to get paid. Excuse me, this mortgage got to get paid. Cardinal got to get paid, and then on top of that, you also have to be able to support your family if you got a family. So, you'll hear a lot of these guys say, "Oh yeah, get it practice in an area of law that you're passionate about." That's cool. I agree to a degree. Like you
Right.
should be passionate.
But do
But
something along with it that's going to help you make money while you build
yeah,
that area
while
up.
you build
Right.
that area up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you look around, you see a lot of guys, a lot of people who have solo firms or started their own practice as they grew it and built it, like they're handling different areas of law. You will see some criminal attorneys that also handle personal injury, that might also be in family law. And I'm sure they didn't do all of that all at once. They probably started with what they loved and felt was the most passionate about, or they might have started with the one that they felt like was more profitable to like fund all those other areas of law.
So
And if you can do that, then you can pay people and hire a family
yeah.
law.
I mean,
hire a criminal attorney.
I think that's a great segue actually, because in 2019 when you submitted your story and we featured you, you talked about being a sports agent,
Yeah,
more particular like a NBA agent. So why
yeah,
don't you tell us all? Fast forward what are we, almost 4 years?
yeah. 4 years down the
How is
line.
that? Yeah, basically 4 years. How is that working out in your
It's
practice?
going it's going well. I actually ended up getting licensed as a sports agent before I passed the bar, which is
Oh,
crazy.
that's amazing. What's that process like, actually?
So for me, I knew I was going to be NBA because all of my connections was in the basketball space. So you pretty much have to take the NBA agents exam.
Okay.
It's you have to apply for it every August, and they only have the exam once a year in January of that following year. So let's just say if someone wanted to take the 2024 exam, they'd have to apply by August of 2023,
Right.
pass the background check and all of that. You'll get cleared to take the exam by, say, late November, early December. And then that January of 2024, you take the exam, they give you the results back in, say, 30 days. So for me, that was my 3L year. So going into my 3L year, I applied, took the exam not long after taking the bar that year after graduation, got those results back in January of 2020 and messed around and passed.
That's awesome.
And it was crazy because
What are the question? What is it like? Who is the GOAT? Like, who is number
nah,
23 on the
man.
Bulls?
Surprisingly, the exam is difficult
No,
because,
I bet it's wicked hard. I would just have no
but no,
idea.
it's not wicked hard because it's still open book. But you know how open book exams can be, like they
Yeah,
can be tricky because you got to
right.
go through material and it's time. So the head of the NBAPA, the NBA Players Association, they draft the exam, and all the most of the National Basketball Players Association, most of the higher ups on management are attorneys.
Okay.
Most of
Yeah.
them. And even the president, current president, she's a former attorney, former prosecutor. So the exam is written by lawyers.
Is it
So,
like a lot of negotiation stuff and that sort of
so
thing?
yeah, it covers the
About the
collective bargaining
contracts and
agreement.
like the
Yep,
yeah.
it covers the collective bargaining agreement. So you go over the collective bargaining agreement, and you have that because it's open book. But the collective bargaining agreement is like it's like a tort book, like it's
Yeah, I bet. Oh yeah.
2,000 pages. So obviously, even if it's open book, like you just can't not prepare. Like
Right.
I think it's 50 questions, and you got to score at least 90%. So what's that?
Wow.
You can only miss 10.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
If you miss over 10, you fail, you got to take it again. And it's not curved like say a bar would be.
like
So
well, it's super competitive too, I bet. So like
super competitive.
tell us about, what you're doing in your firm with being an agent and how it's
Yeah.
going really.
Yeah, initially going in because I knew I wanted to start my own practice, and I also knew I wanted to be a sports agent. The goal was to always do it for myself and have my own agency and my own firm.
It's awesome.
And honestly, Benny, the plan was to make being an attorney like the side hustle. That was the plan until I quickly realized like the everyday grind part of being an agent and how, it the reward doesn't pay off right away. So
Right.
again, passed the agent's exam January 2020, signed my first client, Isaac Okoro, who ended up going top 5 in the draft, which was
Yeah,
crazy.
it's amazing.
First client.
I think I've put them on. I do like daily fantasy, like I
Yeah,
like to build lineups and like
yeah,
I've used them a few times.
yeah. So he went top 5. He went number 5 to Cleveland. So it was like a whirlwind. Like I signed him the draft because that was COVID time. So the draft got pushed back to like November 2020.
Yep. Yep.
So the draft happened. I had Isaac. We had his draft party, went top 5. The week later was my birthday. 3 days after that, I got bar results that I passed the bar. So it
Amazing.
was all like boom, 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 boom. And literally the day I passed the bar, I formed my firm. The dates are the same, December 14th, 2020. So
Okay.
here I am, fresh out, first year sports agent, client that just got drafted 5th overall by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Started my own law firm, literally only had 2 clients, but like I was determined. I was like, this is
Oh,
it.
you were on cloud nine, man. You kidding me?
Yeah,
You're going to the NBA draft. How did you hook up with Isaac?
relationships, man. So his AAU coach is good friends with one of my friends that I've known over 20 something years. He's a scout. He was on the McDonald's All-American committee.
Right.
So we kind of had that plan going into law school too, because it was like, look, he got all these relationships with these kids. yet he's not a sports agent. He's always passing the kids off to a sports agent or introducing them to a sports agent. So once I told him my plan about going to law school and that I was going to be an agent, he was like, "Oh, if you're going to be an agent," he was like, "don't even worry about getting a job with an agency, man. I'm gonna use my connections and we're gonna get you a client." And that sounds good before you actually go and get started and go to law school and all of that. But now we stayed in contact. He actually one of my good friends. We've been friends, like I said, over 20 years.
Wow.
And he made that initial, like, we didn't plan on Isaac coming out that year. Because we had already talked about it and had the conversation with his AAU coach, who I ended up partnering with on the agency. And the plan was for Isaac to play 2 years in college, man, and come out the following year. That was the initial plan. But he played so great as a freshman his first year at Auburn. Like, he averaged almost 19. I think he was second team all SEC, all freshman team, first team all defense as a freshman. And it was like, wait a minute, he might be able to come out now. And of course, I'm thinking, yo, he's probably not going to sign with me. If he's coming out as a freshman, they're projecting him to go top 10, he ain't going to sign with me. Lo and behold, COVID hit, the world went shut down. Best thing that could have happened to me professionally as a sports agent, at least, because, you know, people couldn't get in front of him. He was right down the street from me.
Okay.
You know, they couldn't fly into town. They probably, you know, people were so scared about COVID and everything.
That's awesome.
They having Zoom meetings, and his family, he's Nigerian. His family just wasn't impressed. So they met with me, and I think right away the thing that sold them the most is when his parents saw that I was an attorney, and I said something kind of in passing, and they just latched on to it. I was like, yeah, because, you know, I'm an attorney, so you don't have to worry about me trying to take advantage of Isaac or steal some of his money, as like because of the horror stories that you've heard. Because hey, if anything go on with me, you can just reach out to the Georgia bar and they'll nip that in the book right away. And his dad kind of latched on to that, was like, oh, he's an attorney.
Yeah, they like that. You got to drop that, you know?
Like that. And when I realized that mattered to him, like we just kept hammering that home, and man, they signed the same day.
So that's amazing. You know, one thing I always wondered was, like, you get one player. Do they, like, when they're shooting around at practice or something, do they say, hey, you got to meet my guy Donté Grant. He'll take care of your contract. Is that like how it works?
Yeah, I met a bunch of his teammates that first year. And some of them that came on is more so it's just like I'd be their attorney and probably not necessarily their agent, because it's real cutthroat on the agent side. And most of them, their agents have been in their lives for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. So you rarely see kids fire their agent and go with another agent. Usually, if that happens, maybe contract 2 or 3 when they feel like they might not be being prioritized by the agency, and, you know, they just want a fresh start.
So you got to get in there like early.
Yeah. That's why the relationship with my like.
Do you scout kid? Like, are you scouting? Do you scout at all? Like, do you have to? High school, like.
At this point, thankfully, like I said, COVID happened, so with Isaac, we didn't have to do that.
Right.
But yeah, going forward, we pretty much we gotta build that relationship now, man. Sometimes as early as like 6th, 7th grade.
I was gonna say, like, that's wild, yeah.
Because you'll see agents, man, that have been in a kid's life, and especially now with the NIL and everything, like they can essentially be their NIL management in high school, you know? So you got to start early now, man.
Right. I actually wanted to ask you what you thought about the whole thing now that college athletes can, you know, make some bank.
Yeah, I love it. It's overdue.
It is. I remember, I think it was Kemba Walker, like when he was at Connecticut, UConn, and congrats to the Huskies, but he like was talking about how he couldn't even like get like extra food or something, like, and the kids over there working his butt off for the school.
Restrictions. And think about that. You mentioned Kemba Walker. That's perfect. Imagine how much name, image, and likeness Kemba Walker could have earned in college after that crossover and shot he hit to send them to the national championship. Like, you talking millions.
Yeah.
He's on record, like you just stated, of saying how he didn't even have money to get extra meals, and the NCAA limited how much meal money schools could pay. So, man, it's honestly, and the NIL portion of it is like the tip of the iceberg. Like, it needs to go even further, because let's call it a spade, man. Those kids are employees. Especially, I look at it completely different because I used to be one of them. And I remember the hours, the, 2-a-days, and then going to class and then coming back and having practice. Like we'd have 12, 14-hour days on the norm for like 9 months out of the year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
People will say, "Oh, you're getting a scholarship." Man, the juice don't outweigh the squeeze in that situation. Because like, especially if you're talking about like a Kemba Walker who's at, a Power 5, he's at UConn. Like what that school generates from basketball.
Yeah, there's just no way he should be going hungry. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's
Like,
crazy. It's
come
crazy.
on,
Like,
man.
feed the kid. Like, come on. Like, he's
I was reading an article the other day. UGA football team generated $80 million in ticket sales for 3 home games.
yeah,
3. And then
crazy.
they just got over $200 million in revenue from the SEC for their TV deal just for football alone. So yeah, NIL is honestly, the schools are getting a pass when you think about it because they don't have to pay them. So the kids can go outside of the school and get name, image, and likeness deals away from the school. So really, the school ain't losing anything in that situation.
Yeah, that's true.
All the revenue.
That's true.
You just got some kids on campus with a Lamborghini now. So.
Yeah, it is kind of funny though to think about.
Yeah, literally.
So, what advice would you give like a young kid who really loves sports, like you did and still do, and wants to be an agent or get involved in some capacity with professional sports?
First advice I give them is build up relationships. Build up relationships. Maybe intern at an agency. Like the route that I took is very unconventional and it doesn't happen that often. I think, well, not I think, like me representing Isaac and having a client that went top 5. I was literally the first the first agent to represent a client that got drafted inside of the top 5. The very first that wasn't affiliated with one of the big agencies. And mind you, it was 2020. And even I didn't even know that stat myself. Like I'm part of this group called Diversity Representation. Representation, by the way. And they told me. I didn't even know. So the likelihood of you being, your own agency or your own agent and having your own agency right off the bat and signing a top 5 kid is pretty difficult. More so because of how much it costs to recruit them and pay to, be in front of them all the time. And, sometimes you might have to support their families, whatever the case may be. So if you really want to do that, I'd tell them my first advice would be, hey, try to intern with an agency. Ideally, if you can intern with one of the big boys, CA, Clutch, which is LeBron James sports agency that he has with Rich Paul, Octagon, Bill Duffy, Drew Rosenhaus's agency. If you can intern at an agency and learn the ropes early on, at least learn the day-to-day, I think that'll set you up to have some success as an agency. But more so than anything, it'll give you those relationships so you'll know what you're talking about when you get in front of these kids and these clients. Because look, they're gonna know. They're gonna know. They're gonna know everything about process. Because think about it, some of these kids who are on that track to become professionals, like they've been on that track since they was 12 or 13 years old. So they know everything about the process. They know everything about these agencies. So you got to come in like well-versed in contracts, well-versed in how can you generate them revenue outside of if it's NBA, outside of their NBA contract. One of the big things with Isaac, we was trying to figure out how we're going to get him a shoe deal. Things like that. And people just assume, hey, they get drafted, you get a shoe deal right away.
Yeah.
You got to cultivate that. You got to put that relationship in. My second client, Sharif Cooper, from the following draft, 2021, he got drafted lower than Isaac. He went second round, but he got a shoe deal before Isaac because of like how his setup was in high school. McDonald's All-American, Parade All-American, top 15 in the country. So yeah, Adidas was banging on our door when he was in high school.
Wow.
So completely different. So every situation is different, but the main advice I give to an aspiring agent is to probably intern at an agency, man. Gain some experience, learn the ropes. And really learn the craft because it's way more than just, hey, I'm at the game sitting front row.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm not at the game sitting front row. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. So tell us about your personal injury practice too, like how you're doing with that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's keeping the lights on. Honestly.
Yeah, that's great.
So my first job at a law firm in Miami, mind you, going into it, I didn't plan on working in the personal injury. I was actually trying to do everything except. Got a job at a firm, and they were primarily personal injury, premises liability, medical malpractice, things of that nature. And one of the first things I noticed when I started at that firm, it was like Midtown Manhattan, high rise, great view over Biscayne and all of that. So I walked up and I go inside on my first day. Actually, not even on my first day, on my interview, and I'm just looking around. I was like, oh, so all of y'all rich.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then like I just kind of started getting into the job and getting into like litigating cases and signing clients up. And I quickly realized like I like obviously being a trial attorney. I like the success you can have early on as an attorney in personal injury. So I just kind of merged the two. And obviously being here in Atlanta, you know, personal injury is like the biggest game in town.
Yeah.
There's a zillion billboards everywhere you go out here.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a little, you know, problematic in the beginning because I was like, hey, how you gonna have your own firm and compete with all of these people out here? And I quickly realized you don't have to. You don't have to compete with them. You have to be good at what you do, attract the clients you can attract, do well for those clients, get them good results, and more will come.
I like that. I think that's great, solid advice. And by the way, before I forget, like if you ever want to connect with somebody you see on like Lawyer Stories, if you're just scrolling the feed, you see somebody from Atlanta or wherever, like I'm happy to do like a warm introduction for you. Like
Definitely.
anytime. That's what I like to do. So
I've seen
but
a
I think
few.
that's what's that?
I've seen a few you can make some introductions to.
Yeah. All right, you let me know. You let me know. So it's been 4 years, man. Like since we first posted
Benny.
your story. Like, what's the next four gonna hold?
Man, that's a good question, man. Golly, if I have it my way, I hope the next four can outdo what these first four have been. And these first four have been great, man. They've really taught me a lot about myself, taught me a lot about me as an attorney, taught me a lot about like how to not only start a business, but build it, grow it. We just hired another paralegal the other day. She started Monday.
It's great.
So hopefully the next 4 years will be like a continuation of these, man, and I can just grow this thing to the point where I'm not practicing it as much because now it's like I'm doing all the lawyering, doing all the business, handling
Right.
everything. So the next 4 years is about growth and delegation. That's what I want it to be. I want it to be me grooming another attorney, grooming and building my staff. Hopefully getting me an office in South Florida. That's definitely on the
Nice.
horizon. Yeah, because I went to law school there, and it's so many cases that I get that I have to refer out. So I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
buckle down and figure out how I'm gonna get this Florida license because I don't want to take the bar
I
again.
know. I know. They're like the only place without the
No
reciprocity.
reciprocity. You gotta take
They don't
Florida.
want people retiring down there, probably, right?
I
They're
get it.
practicing, and
Yeah.
believe me, I know because I got two of my admissions through motion for admission, reciprocity. You know,
Right.
after I took a bar, but that's like the one place that's just
Yeah.
forget.
I'm working on my DC now.
Okay,
My DC app. So hopefully I have DC soon and I can get that fast enough before New York gets out of the UBE so I can do New York too. But honestly, I'm not motivated to take another bar exam, but I know I'm gonna have to take Florida if I want to get Florida. But yeah, hopefully
yeah,
that's the next 4 years for me, man. Growing this firm, expanding my practice, and working smarter, not harder.
yeah. No, I think that's great. I think I'm excited to see what the next four bring for you, man. And hopefully, in between that time, we have another couple, or at least
Hey,
another event.
whatever, man, you need to do a Lawyer Stories event. Actually, yeah, doing it in Atlanta, man. It's time.
I'm taking requests now, dude. I would love to. I would.
But
I would
how's
love to
about
be
it? Hey,
out
look,
there.
Miami was genius for the first one though, so that was dope, man.
Well,
We had a
actually,
good time.
that was a second one. So
That was
I did one right before we started the podcast. I did one in Miami, but this one was like sort of a different type of
yeah,
vibe. You know, we really wanted to do like a speaking part of it, but it got too like close to the time, and I was like, we better just make it, what
yeah.
it is. But it was great. I had a great time. I hope we can maybe like New York or connect at some other place.
New York would be dope. May as well doing in Boston, man, in Beantown. I like
Well,
Beantown.
yeah, I was supposed to do one in this month or next month in Boston, but I don't know if that's going to happen now.
Yeah. Still a little chilly up there right now.
It is. Today was all right, but it is cold. Yeah, it's getting better though. We're getting warmer.
Congratulations to you too, man. I love what you've done with the
Thanks.
platform. It's awesome, man. Going from just a fitted hat that you sent Pete to Instagram page to a podcast to doing
Yeah,
events.
man.
Wow, man, it's incredible, man.
Thanks, bro.
I
Lawyer Stories
and it
Connect.
was I
What's
saw it
that?
from the beginning. Like,
Yeah, you did. You did. You're like an original from
yeah, man. Original
like the
Dean
next
Doc.
step for Lawyer Stories is something called Lawyer Stories Connect, where
Okay.
I have a platform built, and we're gonna it's gonna be good. We're gonna connect people together, the lawyers, and we're gonna amplify and elevate them, through social media, through
Yeah.
podcasts, through whatever. We're gonna have a plaque. Everybody likes to get the plaques. So we're gonna do some cool stuff, man. We're gonna bring everybody together in a community called Lawyer Stories Connect. So
Yeah, dope, man.
yeah,
I'm with it. So anything you have going, man, just let me know, and I'm gonna try to support any way I can.
cool. I appreciate it, man. Is there anything else we like left out today, or any other advice you want to give?
Man, just to the young people out, the young law students, man, stay the course, man. Stay the course.
Stay
Like
the course.
it's light at the end of the tunnel. Don't let these older attorneys project their fears onto you and tell you all the things that you can't do. But because look, so many of them told me you definitely can't have your own law firm. You definitely can't be a lawyer and be a sports agent. And here I am sitting here less than 4 years out. I have my own law firm. I'm an attorney and I'm a sports agent. So to the young attorneys, the young law students, man, don't listen to any of them. Like, have mentors, get advice, like good advice. But if you feel like the person is trying to project their fears onto you, tune that person out, man. Because
Yeah.
most of the times, like I sit on these, I get on these IG lawyer blogs, not lawyer stories, but like the meme pages.
Yeah.
Comments, it's all of these
Yeah.
lawyers saying, "Oh my God, it sucks. I hate
Yeah.
this. And practice isn't worth it." Man,
Yeah.
most of the people saying that because they work in an area law that they hate,
Right.
or they're working at a law firm that they hate, but they might be comfortable enough in that salary to just stay and suck it up, even though they hate it.
Oh, the worst.
That's got to be the worst, man. So young law students out there, man, forge your own path. Listen to your gut, and don't forget why you decided to put yourself through that law school gauntlet in the first place, and hold on to that, because I did. I didn't
Yeah.
let the reason I joined the Army to get the GI Bill, to go to law school, to become an attorney, to become a sports agent, like all of that fueled me along the way, and it should fuel them too.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's great words of wisdom. And by the way, like you're still you're just starting, man. Like you're 4 years
Yeah.
out. You're just starting. You got a lot
I
you got a
can't wait
lot
to
of good stuff
I
coming your
can't wait
way.
to see Benny. Looking back, I hope to look back at year 10 and be like, wow, man, that's amazing. Because I learn something new every day. The practice is ever changing. Trying cases, going to court. Like, I'm a sports agent, but my bread and butter is being an attorney, man. I love that more than anything. And I didn't think, sitting here today, I didn't think I'd be saying that when I was a 2L sitting in law school. I had no thoughts about being a trial attorney or
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
litigate. So, that would be a piece of advice I tell them too. Get experience in a lot of areas. You never know, something you might like. This job that I got my 2 year ended up being the practice area that I'm working in today. I wouldn't be a trial attorney in personal injury had I not got that job. And if I would have been closed-minded, like I don't want to do that, who knows what my first 4 years of practice would look like.
Right.
Financially, it's been okay too.
Good.
So
Yeah.
we're doing all right. So yeah, it's just about continuing to build it, man, and grow it and turn it into not necessarily the biggest firm in the world. I don't need that, but I just want it to be, something. My son want to be a lawyer now, so
That's awesome.
he's gonna come out of law school and have his own practice. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
I had classmates like that where it's like, hey man, we was worried about passing the bar and getting a job, and it was like, hey, when I pass the bar, I'm gonna go be the president of whatever law firm.
Yeah. Yep.
My son will be that. My nephew too, because my nephew wants to be a lawyer now too. So yeah, I'm setting it up for them, man.
That's so nice. That's great, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's good vision. Well, thanks for coming on, Donté. We appreciate you, man.
having me, Benny.
And you stay right there. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves.